Welcome or welcome back to the BlackGold-TexasTee show, where real stories meet real soul and where healing, hope, and harmony walk hand in hand. I'm your host, Sweet Tea. Some call me Texas Tea, and you know that suits me just fine. Some of you might have thought I was a little MIA. June was a tender month for me. Some days were even hard for me to get out of bed. So, like I said, I may have appeared to be MIA. I tried my best to push through, and I failed for several days. You see, in June, I carried the quiet ache of missing my mother. I missed her voice, her wisdom, her laughter. I celebrated an awesome birthday in May, and then there was Mother's Day, just like 35 years ago, when June came and I had to walk into my mom's house and clear it. When I walked into her living room and saw her dear, beloved Mother's Day cards were still on display. And I asked my sister, what do I do with them? What do I do with her cards? And my sister said, throw them away. Y'all, that statement strangled the air that I tried to breathe. Throw them away? My mother loved her cards. And I looked at my sister, and she looked at me with great love and loss in her eyes. And then she said, Terry, what can we do? And that was the moment when this horrible dream started to feel more and more real. That the woman who gave me life, I would never see in this world again. See, my mother was more than a parent. She was my anchor, my mirror, my first teacher. And though she's no longer here physically, her fingerprints are on everything I do. Many of you, or many people that I know, compliment my smile. And I always remember the sacrifice of my mom, who prayed and asked God to make a way, like he always did. And she found an orthodontist who agreed to allow her to pay $25 a week so that I could have braces. This orthodontist didn't even charge her for labor, only for materials. And my mom paid that $25 a week. Some of you who remember me from back then may not remember how very jacked up my smile was. Y'all, I couldn't hardly close my mouth. My teeth were so misaligned that my mouth was really disfigured. And I remember talking with my favorite Aunt Bon after we lost Mama. And we laughed about the fact that my mom had had a conversation with her when she told her, honey, we got to do something. Because that child keep her mouth open way too much for her to be going around looking like that. I had no idea that she even thought that way about my smile. I had no idea that she, but it was just funny to even hear that they had had this conversation. I could still hear my mom's voice, and I could hear her laughter as she made that statement. I've had the privilege of traveling all over the world with my profession, but many would never know how much we struggled and how college was merely an idea for a very long time. You see, my mom was born in 1916, and she had been a sharecropper working in cotton fields. And my grandmother became ill. My mom was the eldest daughter, and she had to take care of the house as well. But mom picked cotton and pulled a plow on her shoulders because something happened, I guess, with the mule or whatever. And my mom, of course, knew that the family depended on her because she was the second eldest child. And I never even realized that my mom's shoulders were off center because of the injury she suffered from pulling this plow on her shoulders. My uncle, her baby brother, brought this to my attention when we lost mom. I never knew because, see, my mom was always perfect for me. I didn't see anything that was off with my mom. Mom worked as a housekeeper, a maid for wealthy families. And I remember that it pained me to see how hard she worked, how sometimes they spoke to her kind of not so nice. And that bothered me, even as a little girl. But my mom taught me to know that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And I want you to put a pin right there because that means something. And today I still stand flat-footed on Romans 8:28. You see, as a child, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning with mom, and we would leave, and she would clean at least 2 to 3 homes before she dropped me off at school. She made breakfast for these families, and I was right there tagging along with her. But even in that, she found ways to make this fun for me. As we traveled the same route every morning, we noticed that there was this lady that would be sitting in her window every day. But each day she had on a beautiful robe. Every day was different to the point that every morning I looked for this lady in her window to see what kind of robe she might be wearing. And she never disappointed. And then even when I was really small, and some days I had to stay at work with mom while she worked. And in the middle of the day, she might come get me, or the middle of the morning, she might come get me as I sat quietly, orderly in the kitchen where I waited for her. And she'd say, "Come here, be very quiet." And y'all know for me, even as a little girl, that was a big challenge because, I've never been quiet. But I would from my mom. And she'd say, "Be really, really quiet." And she took me to the front door of this mansion. And right outside, there was the cutest little rabbit that evidently had become accustomed to coming to see her. And she would show him to me, and she would give me carrots and lettuce to feed him. You see, unlike me, Mama was a real country girl, and she loved all things that God made. And she gave me an appreciation for animals and like beautiful birds, like people who see me in North Carolina now kind of laugh at me, I think, when I get all excited about a blue jay or a cardinal or all of the other beautiful birds that are here in North Carolina. In Amarillo, we only saw those birds on one side of town in the neighborhood that I grew up in. First of all, we didn't have that many trees anyway, but we would see finches, and mom found beauty even in that. And another thing that she loved was beautiful flowers. She loved beautiful flowers. And let me just say, I could go on and on about my mom, for she was my everything. So when I was thinking during the month of June about when I finished high school, I started my first job as a bank teller at Bank of the Southwest there in my hometown. And I also went to what we call 13th grade, which was Amarillo Junior College. That's what we called it because for those of us who didn't have the privilege to leave home and go away to school, we just kind of went on over. It was like the next step after you graduated, you went to Amarillo College. And don't laugh on that now because there were some greats that came through Amarillo, like not for Amarillo College, but they played against us a basketball team. Um, some of you may remember Spud Webb, who beat us, and I was so sad. He beat us so bad. He was so little, and he dunked on our tallest player, Victor Mitchell. May he rest in peace. But anyway, I went to 13th grade in Amarillo College, and I worked there for a couple. Worked at Bank of the Southwest for a couple of years, and would go to Amarillo College in the mornings before I went to work in the afternoons. And I overheard some of my colleagues talking about this new bank that was going to be opening there, and they were going to interview. And I was like, "Well, y'all not going to leave me here. I'm gonna go interview too." So I applied for a bank teller position at Security National Bank. And of course, I got the interview. And during my interview with Frank Nelson, who was the head cashier, a big, tall, broad man walks in with his cigar. I'll never forget it. And Frank introduced him as Tom Patterson, who was the bank president. And when he said Tom Patterson, that name sounded familiar to me. Because I remember my mom coming home after her long day at work saying, "Dang it, that dang Tommy Patterson came in just when it was time for me to go home, talking about he was hungry and asked me if I would fix him something to eat." Well, she was pretty upset about it, but she did fix Tommy Patterson something to eat. And as I heard Frank say Tom Patterson, I looked up at Tom and I said, "I think you know my mom." And when I told him who my mom was, he lit up and he said, "Why, sure, I know Claire." He loved my mom. And my interview stopped right there. And Tom took me across the office into an area that would be his office because everything was still in rafters because the bank was still under construction being built out. And Tom reached down and pulled out the blueprints to the bank and rolled them out and showed me where everything was and how everything would be laid out. And then he walked me to the rear of the bank where the drive-in bank would be located. When I left, I knew I was hired. And I knew that it wasn't because of me. It was because of the legacy that my mom left for me. And this was the first time in my life that I was proud of the work that my mom did. You see, my mom did her best with what she knew how to do. And it made people around her, some of them very happy. And some of them really loved her too. And Tom was one of those who did. And he came in after we opened for business. I had worked there at Security National Bank for a year or so. And he came in and asked me, "What you going to do about school?" And long story short, Tom introduced me to people who would pay for my tuition and books for me to go to college. And that's how I was able to start to get, in his words, a real education. This is news to some of you. But again, who knew that all of that hard work that my mom did was only a setup? Because that hard work paid off for me. to be able to go to college through the people that knew my mom. Those people allowed her to pay for my teeth. That process allowed me to finish my education at some point. Even today, when I think about the sacrifice of my mom, her unending love, her faith in God, the salvation that he rendered through his son Jesus, and he just keeps on making a way for me even today. Even today. So June brought all of those memories back to me, and so many other memories as well. I miss my mom. And I live out her legacy everywhere I go. My mom never met a stranger, and if you know me, you know I never meet one either. And she spoke life into people, regardless of their circumstances. She made them be hopeful, but maybe before she met them, they were hopeless. She knew that God would make a way if they trusted him, if they believed in him, and if they obeyed his will. So even now, I'm standing on the promises of Christ my Savior as I grieve the 35th year of my mom's heading to her heavenly home. And it's hard. I have a dear friend who just lost her mom in the past few days, and it reminded me of all of this all over again. And the only thing that allows me to say it's okay is because I know that I'll see her again. As will we all see those that we've lost again. Grief has a way of coming in waves. There were years immediately after that people couldn't even say the word mother to me because grief would just, it destroyed me to hear that word. And I know some of you understand what I'm talking about if you've lost someone that you love deeply. And if that's the case, this episode is certainly for you because it's a celebration of life, not just for my mother, but for every mother, grandmother, auntie, sister, and woman whose legacy lives through us. So now, as I turn the page into July, I'm reminded that grief may slow us down, but it doesn't stop us. It doesn't stop our growth. Grief doesn't go away, it just grows with us. It becomes like a quiet companion, but so does legacy, so does love. And love doesn't die. It transforms. It becomes our fuel, our fire, our reason to keep showing up. To my mother, thank you, Mom, for the strength, the softness, the sparkle, the wisdom that you left me. I miss you every day. And I see you in every good thing that I do. And to all of you who may be listening, may we all honor those who raised us by becoming living reflections of their best. And may we carry that light forward, one story, one memory, one heartbeat at a time. Because even in loss, we're never without love. And today, I choose to show up for myself, for you, and for the legacy of the woman who poured so much of that light and love into my life and so many others. July is here, y'all. And with it comes warmth, new energy, and maybe even some reasons to smile. We move forward, not forgetting, but carrying that love forward with us. This month, we'll talk about freedom. We'll talk about healing, about joy, and about reclaiming our power one day at a time. And if you find that you face loss, join me in reframing the loss with love toward our future. Our loved ones want us to live, and they live through us. So let's reframe the loss, not in sadness, but in celebrating all that our loved ones were and are in the way we decide to live every day. Let us stand and walk boldly, recalling the lessons, the laughter, and the love they gave us when they were here and that they left us with. Let us share that with others as well, as I'm trying to share with you now. Because one day it'll be our turn to answer the call of departure. And we need to make sure that we leave that same legacy of love, the legacy of light and power to those who love us and remain. Let us give them the same solid foundation on which to stand. The love and power of God our Father and the rich legacy that our loved ones gave us so that our loved ones we leave behind can be proud and stand firm on. Remember, as always, we're more alike than we are different. And love leaves a legacy worth remembering. I hope you're encouraged. And thank you for allowing me to share my memories of my mom. Just a few. Thank you for staying with me even as I struggled. And thank you for your encouragement to me to keep pushing forward. Push. Pray until something happens. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with me. Please remember to like, share it with someone that you think needs to be encouraged today or in the future. And please subscribe so that you'll be among the first to know when I have another round of love and light to be published. Today is the first day of the rest of our lives. Let's choose to make it the beginning. Let's make the rest of our lives the best of our lives. Until next time, God bless.